We may already be in the midst of it, but it was amped up big time over the past weekend of how it could change the precious metals markets forever. Let's talk about the war between the East and the West as we explore. And it is a war for silver and gold prices that we have seen in a situation that has never occurred in history, with the Shanghai markets close over the weekend, capturing those all-time highs for gold and silver. And it has been evident through the retail market. I'm going to be referencing two different analysts or folks who are in the thick of it in China right now. One is Oriental Ghost, who we may have you've heard me reference many times after we saw the tumble of precious metal prices. But the price of the investment gold bar in China's e-commerce platform, JD.com, which is a very, very big platform there, and that gold bar is the equivalent of $5,720 and about 80 cents per ounce. And silver, to get an ounce of silver, it's based off of a price of $163.35. That's after the big crash. Now, by the time you see this video, the markets will have fully opened pretty much everywhere on that Monday morning, and that difference between what the markets were closed in Shanghai compared to what they are now could be very different. But my guess is that there's still going to be that spread, and that spread very well could be wider than it was before the big tumble in gold and silver prices over the weekend. And that's what I want to talk about here in this video. Now, whether you're buying or selling, hope you will consider checking out the channel sponsor, Summit Metals, to experience the great customer service for yourself. And it's not just that they buy and sell precious metals, they have other services as well. Check them out in the website linked in the description below. So gold and silver indeed have had a wild ride for 2025, and so far, the first month of 2026 has been just as crazy, if not crazier, reaching all-time highs. Having a record crash for silver especially is something that we've not seen ever. And this spread between the East and the West prices, basically because the Shanghai markets were closed, has never been seen before either, that wide of a spread. And that could continue to some effect. Now, it's highly unlikely by the time you see this video that we're going to see a sense of normalcy between East and West. And I'm talking about even from what we've seen over the past year with an arbitrage situation, with the prices being higher in China than in the West in general. And that disconnect has created opportunities and situations where one could speculate, especially in the silver market, where they buy a whole bunch of silver where it's cheaper here in the COMEX and send it over to Shanghai. And they are in great need of it. And the people themselves are in great need of it as well. They're buying like crazy. But here is where it gets really interesting. Another analyst here, person David Lee, who has perspectives on investment and geopolitics, says here that the day after gold and silver prices have collapsed, the Shenzhen Shubei gold market is packed with people. But pricing of merchandise, jewelry price, not just metal, is becoming tricky. The shops are selling at the Shanghai Gold Exchange above $5,640 for gold and over $136.80 for silver, while buying back at the global price, in other words, a price that's set in London and the COMEX, at $4,827 for gold and $91.60 for silver. So let that sink in for a moment, folks. The places are buying back because I guess it's like a situation here in the United States and in the West in general, there's an influx of people selling, trying to make profits from their gold and especially silver that we've seen those highs move. So we're seeing that occur here. They're willing to take on the global prices when they're buying back, but not when they're selling. And make no mistake, people are buying at those prices in China right now. And China's been experiencing this situation for quite a long time, even before the big bull run occurred. That separation creates arbitrage situations as well as backwardation that is played out. Now, the Chinese, they like their gold pure. You know, it's things like buffaloes would sell much better than eagles. Eagles, and definitely are a coin that is very, very popular here in the United States, but not so much in China. Of course, they have their own, really essentially branded bars and the like from manufacturers, and they're unlikely to find gold and silver like this than you would other types. Now, when you think about gold and silver, we think about price, and we think about the price here in the West, but it's much more valued there in the East. It's a part of their culture. India, China, Japan, Korea, those places are also, Singapore as well, are experiencing great volume of buys for a myriad of different reasons, of prices for the precious metals that you see before you here, and at least there are examples of them, not specifically these types. They're buying their own brands. But nonetheless, one thing is for sure, gold and silver, indeed, in those places, many feel are monetary metals. That's why they buy them and hold them. Silver especially has been on a tear in China. It's been amazing to watch the prices move there, so much higher than here in the West. And so it'll be very interesting to see what happens from here on out. Now, how will this change everything for gold and silver? It will change because if we continue to see this disconnect, and it widens, even if it's not as wide as it is while the markets were closed over the weekend, and if it widens more, that's going to change everything. It's going to put a whole lot more pressure on Western markets because Shanghai Gold Exchange and Shanghai Futures Exchange are becoming big players here, and especially when we're seeing what's happening with Hong Kong, with more a trading platform that could occur there, and even in places like Dubai, which kind of is the link between the East and the West, especially with the gold souks there. And you're seeing a whole lot more activity and a lot more attention being paid to these metals that will sooner or later, I think, influence Western markets. And I think that is something that they'll no longer be able to ignore as the competitive nature between East and West strengthens. And it very well could be that consideration for price moves with the COMEX could be based off of what happens in Shanghai. Let me repeat that again. We could come to a point in time, if we're not there already to some degree, where the price moves and the directions that we see in the Western markets could be influenced by what happens in the Eastern markets. They may very well lead the way. As you see on your screen here, we have gold and silver that were actually utilized as money back in the day. So this $5 gold piece and this dime here, this silver dime, these were once used as money. And it wasn't just here, but around the world, gold and silver utilized as money. And, that wasn't that long ago. Look at the dates of these coins, 1900, 1941. And that's here in the West. When we recognize our Constitution says nothing but gold and silver shall be used between states. That is a very powerful thing, and that wasn't that long ago when that was written. Gold and silver recognized throughout history in the East and Middle East, and here we are, a nation that is in its 250th year in existence, and we're not that far removed from a time when this was money. States are recognizing gold and silver as money. Florida, the biggest state, is going to be implementing it this year. That is a big deal, folks. And that is essentially an influence going back to our Constitution, much as we could see that play a powerful role as we watch these markets move. That is another thing that will change the gold and silver market, I believe, forever. If more states recognize it, especially more influential states like Florida, well, I think it means that things are not going to be the same ever again. So it'll be fascinating to see where this plays out. But I'm going to be watching the Asian markets closely and be watching the U.S. markets as well and the Western markets in general to see what that disconnect continues to be. My guess is it's here to stay, at least for a while, and until the West catches up with the East. So very, very fascinating indeed. So let me know what your thoughts are about this situation. History has been made and will continue to be made with gold and silver. The price may fluctuate up and down, but one thing is for sure, it will still be around. Gold and silver, they will rule the day because those who make the rules are here to stay. I'm sorry I got into a little limerick there. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.